And we are officially 11 minutes late. I don't know why I have a cell phone with a clock, because obviously I don't use it. So if you guys will have a seat, the videos will show on this screen. Some of the words on the bottom are a little bit hard to see, so if you kind of sit closer on the front on this side, you may be able to read them better. Some of the videos, the children are speaking in their national language, and there's closed captioning kind of across the bottom and the subtitles. And if someone cannot read the subtitles, Crystal has offered to read them for us. So, okay, without further ado, Miss Janice Burns. She's our church relations coordinator for the Northwest Oklahoma City area, and she's going to welcome everyone. I'm Tanya Pope, area coordinator, by the way. I always forget to introduce myself. I don't know why.
Tanya is the one who heads up our team. So we are really, really thankful to have her, because she is so good at what she does. And so I ask the Lord's blessing and thank Him for her. I want to say welcome. The people that are here, and that's what we think of, are exactly the people that God wants to have here. So that's what I tell myself, and it's in my heart that you're exactly where God wants you to be right now. So I do want to say welcome. This is Westminster Church. Don Tynes, back there in the back, is our administrator over this church, and he is the one who has opened the doors to the church for us. So we say thank you, Don. He has been very, very gracious in offering his facilities. Operation Christmas Child has been close to our hearts. I'm going to introduce part of our team, and then we're going to say a prayer, and then we're going to get our I'm sorry? Yes, program, thank you. Ready to go. First we have, of course, Tanya. I'm Janice Burns, Church Relations Coordinator for Northwest Oklahoma. There's Crystal Grantham, and she is the the Community Relations Coordinator for Northwest Oklahoma. So we're glad to have her. Denise Nunn, back in the blue shirt, is part of our church relations team. So we're very thankful to have her. And Linda, in the wheelchair here, is another member of our church relations team. So we're glad to have her. Several people are going to speak today. Amy Pierce is going to tell us about T-shirt jump ropes, and she's going to tell us a little bit about what her church does in Woodward. And Barbara West is from First Baptist Church here in Enid, and she's going to tell us about some shoes that grow, which may be something that you've heard about, and if not, she has a whole thing to tell you about, and some of the things that their church does. So welcome to everybody who is here, and let's have a word of, I'm sorry, I forgot Michelle Slew. Yes, Michelle is very important. Michelle and her husband Charles are from the Edmond First Christian Church, and Michelle has been very instrumental in Operation Christmas Child in her church and been very successful packing shoeboxes.
And they're also drop-off team leaders.
Drop-off team leaders.
Drop-off team leader.
I'm a drop-off team leader. Dawn is a drop-off team leader.
Virginia.
Yes. Oh, let's not forget Virginia. Right. I know that, Dawn, you are a good man, but I also know Virginia is a good woman. So, and Amy Pierce, and she's got a wonderful team there in Woodward, and they are drop-off team leaders. And did I miss anybody that's a drop-off team leader? Yeah. Okay. Yes, Lori Finnegan is now the drop-off team leader for Tanya's church. Okay. Oh, you're not a drop-off team? Oh, no, you're not. It's the other fellow, First Baptist in Woodward. Yeah. Okay, I misspoke. I'm sorry. Okay.
But she does drop off about half the boxes.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure that counts. Yeah. All right, let's open with prayer, and we'll get our program started. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for the blessings that you've given us. We thank you for the opportunity that we have to serve you and to share your love with children all around the world. Thank you, Lord, for this ministry. Thank you, Lord, for your guidance, your safekeeping on the trip here, and we ask for it on the trip home. Thank you, Lord. We ask your blessings on everything that is said here, that it may be to your glory. In Jesus' name, we ask these things. Amen. Okay. All right. There we go, Crystal. Oh.
Yeah. Where's the PowerPoint dealing? Just point at Dawn. Okay. Perfect.
Yes.
Hi, everybody. Just again to say my name, I'm Crystal Grantham, and I am the Community Relations Coordinator for our area. We're all in the same area, so I don't know if some of you are like me. Maybe you're a little tired. Maybe you've lost a little bit of your motivation for why we're doing this. So I hope that what I talked to you about this morning, well, this afternoon, I guess now, will maybe remotivate us and just encourage us in the ministry that God has put before us. So when I first started packing shoeboxes, donating items to shoeboxes was about 25 years ago. And I will be totally honest with you. All I knew about shoeboxes was that a kid got a present. And I was totally fine with that. Like, I was good with that for about 20 years. Seriously. I didn't ask questions. I never really cared to know what happened to them, where they were going. I just know that I did a box or I donated items and they went somewhere and a kid was happy. Well, that didn't really produce a lot of shoeboxes out of me, I will be totally honest. And not a lot of prayer went into them or anything like that. And about 6 or 7 years ago, a really close friend of mine, Teresa from Tulsa, I used to live there, I went to a packing party at her house, and when we left, we probably packed about maybe 20, let's say about 20 shoeboxes. And when we were done, we prayed over the boxes, and she said, just think, that is 20 children who are going to hear about Jesus that maybe never, ever heard the gospel before. Just think about that. Isn't that awesome? And I just started to notice my friend Teresa is super involved with Operation Christmas Child, very dedicated to the ministry. And I just started listening to her. And over time, I realized every single time she ever talked about shoeboxes, that was what she would say. Just think, another child is going to hear the gospel. Did you know that when you pack a shoebox, a child hears the gospel? And that really impacted me. So I think that that's really something we need to keep on the forefront of our heads, forefront of our minds, forefront of our heart is this is really what Operation Christmas Child is about. It is about giving a tangible expression of God's love, expression of our love to a child that is in need. But it's so much more than that. And we know that, but we need to remind ourselves of that. We need to really think about that. The mission of Operation Christmas Child can really be summarized in 3 words. Evangelism. Oh, are we not? Am I supposed to do that part too? Oh, I'm sorry. Can you flip forward to the evangelism? Yeah, just skip that. There you go. It's evangelism, discipleship, and multiplication. And that is really what Operation Christmas Child is all about. So, for me personally, I just want to share a little bit about my story to say why I'm motivated to pack shoeboxes now that I know that the gospel is really what it's all about. Before I was born, my dad was shot in Vietnam and very seriously injured. And as a result of that, he got out of the military. And for my early childhood, we were experiencing my dad recovering from his war injuries, and then, we lived in poverty as a result of that. So, because of that, the neighborhood we lived in was not really safe, and I had a lot of fears as a child. When you have a parent who's been severely injured in war, all of a sudden the reality that something bad can happen is very real to you, because it happened to your dad or it happened to your sister. And for some of these children around the world, maybe it's happened to them. But fear becomes very real to you, and you experience it daily. When you live in an unsafe neighborhood, you hear gunshots, you hear fighting, you sleep with open windows, there's no air conditioning. The thought, somebody's going to come in my bedroom window, is very real to you. So I lived with a lot of fear when I was very young. Those are my earliest memories, was of being afraid. And praise the Lord, my parents are both believers, and I trusted Jesus as my Savior when I was 4, almost 5 years old. So I was very, very young. And very grateful for that experience, because now when I think about packing shoe boxes, I know the impact of knowing Jesus as a very young child. So as a 4 or 5-year-old, I learned 2 verses. I don't really remember learning them. I just always remember knowing them. The first one is, I will never leave you or forsake you. And the second one is, whenever I'm afraid, I will trust in you. And those verses had such an impact in my life, I could just think of them over and over and over. And the peace that would come over me was so real that I never doubted that Jesus was real. And I knew, okay, my dad got shot. Something bad could happen to me. I could die, but I'll go to heaven and I'll be with Jesus. So it really just gave me a sense of peace, and it really helped me conquer my fears, because I knew the Lord was with me always. And when I think of these children around the world, where are these shoe boxes going? They're going to children in some of the very worst areas of the world, going through things that don't even compare to what I experienced. What I experienced was so small. It never really touched me personally. It touched my dad, didn't touch me personally. But I was still afraid. The fear was real. But think about the fear these children are living with. And that's just where I connect with these children. I connect with them, empathizing with them on a level of, I know what it's like to be afraid as a child. So I'd like to encourage you and challenge you to think about your story. This is my story, but you have a story. What is your story? Think about your life, what has happened in it that might be able to make you think how you can connect with these kids. Maybe it was a health problem. Maybe it's, who knows? I don't know your story, but you do. Think about how you can use that to motivate other people to pack shoe boxes. Think about how that can motivate you to pray for the children that you've packed a shoebox for. There's just all these things that you can think about in relation to, okay, if these children knew Jesus, how would that help them deal with that issue in their life? So that's my little challenge to you, my motivation to you. Think about your story and how it can help you in your packing of your shoeboxes and praying when you think about the impact of the gospel in these children's lives. So let's move on to specifically talk about evangelism and Operation Christmas Child. So how does this shoebox actually help share the gospel? So we put fun things in our boxes, and then they get to the kids overseas, and it's not like what I thought. They don't just get the box, and they're happy they got a present. So in reality, how does this happen? How can we share with other people what the box does in order to evangelize the children? So in country, the kids are invited to a shoebox outreach event, and this is hosted by, we'll just leave that slide on. Our PowerPoint isn't really working correctly, so sorry, you're just gonna have to listen to me talk for a few minutes. Yes, okay. So we partner with local churches, pastors, in country. They are trained by Operation Christmas Child with how to share the gospel in a child-friendly way. And so they're not just going in, sharing it, maybe a pastor giving a dry sermon. These are really prepared, trained people who are doing the presentation in a way that the kids are going to enjoy. So they're going to enjoy skits, they're going to enjoy songs. They're going to have the gospel presented in a way that they can understand. They have posters that are different sizes, large and small, and there's a script on the back. And I really love that because it means that the gospel is presented in a uniform fashion all over the world to children. So Operation Christmas Child, has a method of presenting the gospel that they know is effective for children, and we know as volunteers what Operation Christmas Child stands for. So when we donate a box to them, we know this is the gospel that they're being presented. We agree with their statement of faith. This isn't some false gospel that maybe mistakenly will be being shared. There is a script that they follow, which I really love that about it. So then at the event, after they have had songs and skits, the gospel presented to them at the end, the children are lined up and they are given a box with, I forgot to bring it up, the greatest gift that they're going to receive. And it's this little booklet, and it goes on top of their shoebox, and they're each handed that. And this booklet is a colorful booklet that has 11 Bible stories in it, shares with the children the story of creation, sin, birth of Jesus, his death and resurrection, some of his teachings. And it's presented with Apostle John as the narrator. And then at the end, it invites the children to be followers of Christ. They have that ability, that offer, invitation is extended to them to follow Christ. And there's just so many testimonies of children and their families who've come to know the Lord as a result of the outreach events, and then taking this booklet home and sharing it with their families. So Dawn, if you can, yes, the Mawita meets the greatest friend. Not this one, next one, sorry. Yes, thank you. If y'all have a hard time reading the subtitles, let me know.
Na mimi nilianza kujiunga kimoja hapa ambayo kilikuwa kazidi kuwa mwizi. Sasa baada hapo kila siku ndo napiga ni watoto wa watu. Ilivyoendelea hivyo, kuna siku nilichukuliwa tuseme na gari. Nilifika walinipeka mpaka sehemu za mistuni huku, kwa kuwalazimisha kuwa waniachie, wakaniachia huko mistuni. Ndo nikaanza safari kuulizia, nikaulizia kanisa ambalo linaitwa kule Evangelist Assemblies. Nikapelekwa pale, nikalala. Ilikuwa siku ya Jumapili. Nilisikia pale wanatangaza, watoto tunawaomba mbaki. Nikashangaa sana nimepewa zawadi. Ni mwangu nilifurahi sana. Tulipopata zawadi, tukatangaziwa tena kutakuwa kuna madarasa. Nililojifunza mimi kiundani lilikuwa ni somo la rafiki mkubwa. Mimi nilijifunza kuwa hamna rafiki mkubwa zaidi ya Yesu peke yake. Baada ya hapo, nikaanza sana kubadilika. Ile zawadi ilinifanya nipende kuja kanisani, kumpa sifa Mungu peke yake, kwa sababu kanibadilisha maisha yangu. Nilikuwa sina tumaini lolote na sikutarajia kwa mimi nitafikia hapa. Kwa kitu kingine mimi nilichokuwa nakifikiria ni hiki. Hilo somo la rafiki mkubwa lilibadilisha familia yetu kiujumla. Na mimi nimefikiria wale watoto wa mitaani, akinisaidia Mungu nitawatunza kwa hali na mali. Napenda sana yangu hapa shukrani za pekee OCC kwa sababu wamenijali mimi na wamejali maisha yangu.
I love that video. So every year there's about 75,000 outreach events like you saw in there worldwide. And since 1993, about 160 million children have received a shoebox. So every one shoebox you pack, one child is like Mawita who gets to hear the gospel. And the effect of evangelizing him through that outreach event and the greatest gift booklet that he received, that's the fruit for one child in that video. So evangelism is our first mission. Second mission is discipleship. So if you could put that slide up, thanks. So how does OCC go about discipleship? If you're like me, which hopefully you're not, you just give a gift, don't think about it again. Then I learned, I'll make a gift and then I'll think about evangelism. Had no idea discipleship happened. Did not really know that until just a couple of years ago. So I'm new at this. But Operation Christmas Child has a discipleship program called The Greatest Journey. So they receive the greatest gift first, and then at the end of the outreach event, they are also, the outreach event is where they receive their shoebox, they're also invited to come back to the church to participate in a 12-lesson discipleship program called The Greatest Journey. So this is a scripturally based discipleship program. It's actually one of the largest children's discipleship programs going on in the world today. So again, Operation Christmas Child partners with the local church. We don't have teams of people going from the United States to these countries, swooping in, doing an outreach event, staying for 12 weeks, leaving. That's not what's happening. We are partnering with other believers just like us in this room who are in their country. They know the language, they know the culture, they know the context in which they are ministering to these children. So they are the ones that are coming in and being trained by Operation Christmas Child. But Operation Christmas Child trains national leaders. So we have teams that go in, train national leadership teams, and then they train all of the local believers who are ministering through Operation Christmas Child in their country. So they receive a teacher guide and training, and the teacher guide not only teaches the believers how to present these lessons in a child-friendly way, they are also using methods that don't depend on literacy rates, previous biblical knowledge, or they're also, the methods that they use are not language dependent. So it's not like, okay, this works really well for English, but maybe doesn't work so great for Swahili kind of thing. So the method that they use is great. It's cross-cultural, and it also teaches the teachers how to develop their own Bible lessons. Because hopefully at the end of the 12 weeks, the kids are going to want more. They're going to know the Lord. They're going to want to come back. And then if the teachers only know what to do with their little book, they're stuck. But hopefully they've been equipped through the training that they get with Operation Christmas Child to just continue on with their own lessons, even if prior to this they wouldn't have really known how to do that. Does that make sense? So the kids can participate in this 12-lesson course, and if they finish it and they complete all of their lessons, at the end they're invited to a graduation ceremony which is probably the first time they've ever experienced a cap and gown and all this excitement. They have a big party, and the kids receive a certificate, and then they receive their own New Testament, which is illustrated. It also has a Bible dictionary, which I think is great because, it might help them understand some of the words in the Bible. It has maps, and it also has some Old Testament stories in it as well. So, yes, thank you. Yes, the greatest gift, which they get in the outreach event, and the greatest journey are both in their language. So I believe the greatest journey is available in over 80 languages. So not every country where we have outreach events will the greatest journey be offered, because we might not have materials in their language, but a lot. So to date, about 15 million children have participated in the greatest journey, and about 9.5 million children have made decisions for Christ as a result of going through that. Isn't that awesome? Yeah. So, just see if there was anything else. Yes, so I'm going to show you a video that I found super inspiring because I have also a big heart for literacy. And this is a video showing a Roma community. If you don't know what Roma is, you might know them better as gypsies. That's kind of what we called them when I was growing up. But it's a Roma community in the Ukraine. And they live in an area where there aren't very many jobs. Most of the children aren't educated very well. And this tells a story of how they're using the greatest journey.
В этом селе русские комаровцы. И тяжело им прожить это все.
Какая у них жизнь? Сложно жить, потому что они неграмотные. Из-за неграмотности они не могут устроиться на работу. Родители, многие сами не пускают детей в школу, потому что они их заставляют работать на перспективу о том, что ребенок без образования не имеет будущего. Как раз подарки сумки самарянина, пособие «Великое путешествие» напрямую способствует ихнему развитию. Ромские дети, так же самое, как и украинские дети, и дети на всей земле, тоже любят подарки и хотят их получать.
Да, слава Господу, что есть такие братья, что помогают с этими подарками нашими детьми. Но Бог через людьми, через человека может людей изменять. Я очень рад, что есть такие люди, которые помогают нам.
Работая с ромами, мы напрямую используем пособие «Величайшее путешествие» для того, чтобы научить деток читать. В будущем это очень сильно поможет напрямую, даже, я бы сказал бы так, поможет детям в их жизни. Это пособие, оно вырабатывает в сердце ребенка и в его сознании любовь к Богу, любовь друг к другу, к себе подобным.
Я воровал, и с этого я жил. Я принял позже, как... А я не хотел покаяться, я выпивал очень тяжело, страшно выпивал. Слава Богу, что люди меняются. Я обещал Богу, пока жить буду, Ему буду служить.
Закончил труд, который он сотворил. Руслан – это внук пастора Евгения. Он грамотный, он учится в школе, он прошел эту программу. Эдик, он не умеет читать, и поэтому внук Руслан читает ему Библию.
Тогда мы и с Русланчиком садимся, и он читает, а я начинаю людям объяснять. Слава Господу, что Господь Бог пользует меня и моего внучку. Потому что бы ни произошло, что бы ни произошло, я знаю, что Бог со мной. Бог меня не оставляет, и мою хату не оставляет, и мой табор не оставляет.
Это участие в чем-то большем, в том процессе, который мы иногда даже не понимаем, а мы участвуем в изменении судеб людей. Меня используют в этом плане, используют сумку самарянина в этом плане, вас используют в этом плане.
Я сейчас очень рад, что мои дети, мои внуки растут по Божьей благодати.
And you guess why I like that one so much? So when the grandpa at the end talks about he knows God will never leave him, he will never leave his home, he will never leave his village. Y'all know why I just love that, because that verse means so much to me. But I think we can really see that these shoeboxes are not just having an impact for the gospel, for, bringing new people to believe in the Lord, but we have no idea how people around the world are using these materials that are being provided to them, because we turn things over to the national believers. They know what their communities need. So this community knows they need literacy, and they're using the Greatest Journey to help the kids learn to read. And that's one of the beauties of the ministry model that Operation Christmas Child has, is it really gives quite a bit of freedom to the local believers to implement it and use the resources that we have to use in their communities in the way that God leads them to do. So that takes us to multiplication. And at the end of the Greatest Journey discipleship course that the kids go through, the last couple of lessons focus on teaching the kids to learn to share what they've learned with others. And that's where the multiplication comes in, because the kids are challenged to take their lessons, to share them with their family, to share them with their friends. And it really employs kind of a storytelling type of method. So it makes it very easy for a child to then share the story in their Greatest Journey book with a friend or with a family member. And not only are the children being saved that receive the shoeboxes, but we know that about 9 people's lives are impacted for every one shoebox that goes overseas. And in this one, we can see the grandpas affected, friends, families, and we just have so many testimonies of that happening. And so not only does one child hear the gospel, but it multiplies because other people are hearing the gospel. And as a result of that, all over the world, churches are growing, and not only are existing churches growing, but new churches are being planted because of the new believers that have come to know the Lord through getting a shoebox and through going through the Greatest Journey discipleship course. So let me just look and see if there was anything else I wanted to make sure I said about that. Okay, so Dawn, if you could cue up the video, Shoeboxes Lead to Church.
The very first need of this community is liberation from fear. They've been worshiping water deities. We need a way of explaining Jesus liberates from fear. We've actually evangelized areas for months, but with the shoebox, we didn't know it was going to be so easy. We saw that if we are to do something in this area, then we have to start with the kids. We brought the shoe boxes across the river for the children. 1, 2, 3. Open! Come on, Mimi.
If
Ekemi open bokudo Yesu Kristo nchia viva onsosro na leke Yesu Kristo ma ucha Yesu Kristo na baba kuro nya ko mi go tayo ole bebere bena ya ava bobo mi aro piona iwo ama kajwa ibu ko sra gbe mi je fligan voyage
le problème va solution va na lo ke 15 mois le ke yo enseignement wa ko ba gbele to e a tiré one of you tellement avec une ma opportunité et vous c'est 45 soit 50 on y présentement
ke pani sasra endo jijana bena mi on sasra kaka e mi pa en chang o magi le do dona berana ma bena nenane ne ma kwenye mekata acha pa bekin sana Yesu Kristo.
We started this Bible study with the kids, and that has continued until it became a church.
Ape moko ko ibena de jo chaone tro abagone tro e gbedeka abe nye monitrice ne a mi souhaite be ma former monitrice o la doli me do abin ko
Mesi anjibu mas paso akbara wona jachi edo na gbara musamta
subo jana jina nyento hukuvwa mon papa muswa signal tawa mu fifikan gwaye soto de Georgia yamle doa.
New things are happening every day in this church, that there is improvement in every area of their lives, especially the kids. Every Sunday they bring in more kids, and that is fantastic.
Isn't that a great story? I love that. So the water deities make them afraid. So I love that video because it talks about fear. And we know that God can conquer all of our fears. And then it started with 15 kids going to an outreach, then 45, and now a church has been planted. So that's such a great example of the multiplication that can occur. And I want to encourage you all as project leaders, as people who are involved in your church. Maybe you're just getting started. Maybe you've done it for a long time and you need some encouragement. Just really focus on the real background mission of Operation Christmas Child, which is evangelism, discipleship, and multiplication. And really, this all starts with you. It starts on our end. We're the first line. It is packing a shoebox, literally putting those toys, hygiene items. Seems simple. It is simple. But that box is such a valuable resource to our brothers and sisters who are overseas, who these boxes allow them to go into some of the hardest reached parts of the world to share the gospel. So be encouraged and be motivated. Are you turning me off, Dawn? There we go. To just remember that background mission and to just share it with enthusiasm and joy with the people that you come in contact with. So I think somebody else is up next. Who's up now? Amy. Okay, Amy Pierce is going to come and share her story. We love Amy, and we are super excited that she's here. And I know she has an amazing story herself. Yes. And anyway, but what you do at your church is great. So we are just excited to hear whatever you have to share.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Hi, I'm Amy Pierce from Woodward. I think this is my, I want to say 10th year being project leader. I think last year was 9, so I think this would be 10, somewhere around there. When I first started off, our church did the pack your own box, and I think our church averaged maybe 15 to 20 boxes. I'm gonna guess it was something like that. When the lady that was doing it said, I have so much on my plate, I can't do this anymore, will you take over? And I'm like, I don't know if that's really something I want to do. I'll pray about it. because, that's our answer for everything. I'll pray about it. So I went home, talked to my husband, and he said, why not? All great stories start with why not. So I took over, and I think the first year I did it, we did like 50 boxes. I thought, well, that's good, it doubled. That's great. But then something didn't feel right, and I was noticing that there were a lot of people in our congregation that weren't taking part in it, and I wanted to know why. And I'm just nosy that way. So I went to him, and I'm like, okay, why? Can I ask you? Do you mind? Why do you not participate? Well, the majority of our church is an older congregation, and a lot of them are very limited on their funds. And come to find out, that's why they weren't participating. So that broke my heart, and I went home and I just prayed and I cried and I prayed and I said, that's not right. I don't think that's the way God would want it to be. I'm sorry, I don't. I don't think He wants someone to miss out on the blessing of being a part of something so amazing just because you don't have the funds to do it. I don't think that's right. So I went to the leaders in the church, and I said, how about we start gathering stuff year-round? When it goes on sale, we buy it. You see something on clearance, grab it, put it to the side. So that way the ones that can do the money part of it, do that, and then the other people can contribute prayer, which is just as important, or time. And we'll say, we'll provide all the stuff if you just come and be a part of it, because I say, who doesn't want to tell a child that they're loved by an amazing God? So that one's my part of the story. Because I grew up very, very poverty level, except we didn't have God when I was growing up. I had a friend when I was 12, and Zoe, she's in my Sunday school class, so she's heard this story many, many times, but I always tell them, a lot of times kids think that they don't have an impact. I'm just a kid, what can I do? And I tell them, oh, but you have all the power, because someone will listen to a child before they'll listen to an adult. And I had a friend when I was 12 that said, hey, come to church with me. And I said, church? What's church? I was 12. That's here in America. And I said, what's church? And she said, oh, it's where we go and we talk about Jesus. And I said, and that is who? And she's like, oh, just come with me. It's fun. Just come with me. So I went home and I said, hey, Mom, Dad, can I go to church with Ann? And they said, yeah, but don't come back spewing all that, insert really bad language here. So my first thought was, church is bad. My parents didn't support it, must be bad. And but I said, okay, well, I'll go, because they said I can go, so I'll try. And then that was my first seed that He planted. But it wasn't until I was an adult that that God reached in and touched me. I actually lost my daughter. And it wasn't until after my daughter had passed away that I came to know the Lord. And it was after that I said, who doesn't want to tell a child that they're loved? Who doesn't want to be a part of seeing a child smile? So it was actually my daughter that got me first started, because I said she loved spreading smiles everywhere she went. If she could make somebody smile, then her day was made. So I said, I want to pack a box because I want to continue that for her. I want to make somebody else smile. So the first couple times I packed the box was in her honor, was, doing it to help spread it. But then God's like, oh, that's really cute. I have more planned for you. And so when we started doing the packing party, I noticed that it was growing. And I was like, okay, that's really great, God, and then it grew to 100 boxes. And then we're like, wow, 100 boxes, this is amazing. And then the next year it was 2, and it was almost doubling every year. And my friend that was doing it with me, she has since moved away, but this one year, because God always gets me, after the packing party, we go in and we sit in front of the cross and we just cry and we just thank God that we're even allowed to do something so amazing. And we were sitting there, and I think it was, we had done 300 boxes that year. And so we're just like overwhelmed, going, wow, okay, well, let's set a love goal. Let's set a love goal. Yeah, we'll talk about that. So every year we were setting a goal. Well, we want to do this. But then the first couple of years, I noticed that we were more focused on the number, on achieving that goal, than we were on feeling a part of the blessing of being a part of what God is calling us to do. And I thought, this isn't what I want to do. I don't want to just focus on a number, because why am I trying to put a limit on what God wants to do? So we said, okay, no limit. We'll just, if it's here, we'll pack it. We'll do what we can. And so we sat there in the sanctuary and we said, let's set a love goal. Yeah, let's set a love goal, 1,000 boxes. Whew. Wouldn't that be truly amazing to see 1,000 boxes in the sanctuary? Yep, that's our love goal. All right, God, I want to do 1,000 boxes so that way we can say this wasn't anything I did, this wasn't anything the church did, this was 100% God, because we average maybe 50 people in our church on a good Sunday. So we said, okay, we're going to set our love goal for 1,000 boxes so that way we can say this is 100% God. This isn't anything anybody else can do. So year before last, the year before that, we put boxes together. We went in, we did the packing party, and part of the way through, they came up, they said, Amy, we're out of boxes. We need more boxes. And I'm like, what? We had counted, we had recounted, we knew there was just enough. Nope, we need more boxes. Okay, well, we'll go put some more boxes together. So we went and put more boxes together. Came back, Amy, we're out of boxes again. What? We counted, there's no way there's that much stuff there. And we said it was truly loaves and fishes. So the following year, we went in, we prayed, we did all that, we started. I said, okay, I'm going to get 1,000 boxes. I'm going to have faith. I'm going to give it 1,000 boxes. If we use them, praise God. If we don't, they'll be here for next year. Okay, we'll do that. So we got 1,000 boxes, and then someone donated some more boxes to us. So year before last, we ended with 1,111 boxes. Faith. Because faith. And then I was like, oh, wow, God, I didn't put a limit, but am I sure that this is what you wanted us to do? Is this really the path? And I prayed and I said, can you please just show me a sign? Show me a sign that this is where you want me to be, that this is where you want this to go. And we have a garage sale every year because I always say people have more stuff than they have money. True. It's true. I mean, if you go home, you're going to look around your house and go, well, I really don't need that. So again, I went several years ago, I went to the church and I said, how about all of you just go clean out a closet? Take stuff that you're not using, bring it to me. I will have a garage sale and 100% of that money will help fund Operation Christmas Child. And they said, okay. So we've done that several years now. 6 years, I think we've done that now. And So that year, when we did the boxes, that following summer when I was praying, God, am I really the project leader to be doing this? I just, because Satan, when you're on that path, he whispers and he's like, I think you probably need to not do this. Well, of course he wants you to think that. So we went into the garage sale. We had the garage sale, and I kept praying, God, show me a sign. Will you please just tell me that this is what you want me to do? And we ended the garage sale with $1,111. So I went back to the pastor and I said, because divine intervention, God said he wants me to still be the project leader, so I guess I'll stay. So then we kept pushing, and actually I told them this year we pushed back. And I said, this last November we did 1,700 boxes. But I was not happy with the quality of some of the boxes that left. Instead of them coming and telling me at the packing party, hey, we ran out of some of this stuff, and I have a great team, but a small team. And so we open it up to the community and tell everybody, just come in and pack a box, be a part of the blessing. And instead of them telling us we were running out of stuff, they just kept packing boxes because there was stuff there. So I think, and then when I noticed, hey, we're running out of like the toys and stuff, and they were just using filler item stuff, I'm like, whoa, stop. So I don't know how many prior to that left when we stopped it, but I said I don't want to go through that again, because I said if we can't be proud to put our own name on that box, I sure don't want to put God's name on that box. And I said, I think quality of the box is what's important. Numbers doesn't matter. Whether it was the 20 that we started with or that we hit the 1,000 love goal didn't matter if it wasn't a quality box that we would want to put God's name on. So I did tell him this year that I was going to push it back, that we were going to go closer to 1,000, which still is absolutely amazing that we even still hit that love goal. But I told him quality over quantity. And I said, being the project leader, I don't know how many of the boxes that did go out didn't have the $9 shipping on them, because we had put it out there, hey, this needs to be covered, this needs to be covered. But as project leader, I can't go, did you turn that money in for the, we can't do that. So I said, instead of looking at, we're going to do X amount, let's just focus more on, not on the goal, because I don't want to just go, oh, this is our limit, we hit 1,000, this is where we're stopping. Because if God says, pack one more box, I don't want to be like, no, we good, we hit 1,000. But I want to know that instead of buying more stuff for other boxes just because they're there, that money goes towards the $9 to help cover that box and be good stewards of the box, and not just because we can, but quality over quantity. So even though we did hit 1,700 boxes this last year, which is, I still cannot wrap my head around, from starting with like 20 to 1,700, I still can't. I said I want to scale it back to make sure that the last box that leaves that packing party is just as important as the first box that was made. Because I said, if I set those two kids, is even what I was telling Michelle on the way over here today, if I set those two kids side by side and hand them those boxes, I don't want that kid to feel like they just got leftovers. I want them to see that they are just as important as the person sitting next to them that got the first box. And that is more important to me, to know that that kid feels that love and doesn't just feel like leftovers. So that was what was important to me. Is that the 1100 story you wanted me to tell? Okay. Oh, yeah, the packing party was November 11th. So that's right. It was November 11th. We did 1,111 boxes on November 11th. So it was divine intervention all the way around. I mean, he never fails to show that he's constantly there. And then even this year, we did our garage sale last month. And we had I know she's making that face. We had so much stuff come in, which was absolutely amazing. I was panicking. Like the weekend before, I was panicking. I'm like, we're not going to have enough stuff to do this garage sale. How are we going to get the money for the box? Because we use that money for boxes. I'm like, how are we going to get this? Okay, God, you're going to take care of it? Nope, not going to worry. You're going to take care of it. So we come in and last minute donations just start pouring in. And our trailer, we have a Wells Cargo trailer in the driveway. It was full. The garage was full. So we had our garage sale, and there was still so much stuff left over after the garage sale that I looked at my husband. I'm like, we're going to have another garage sale. Usually we do one per year because it's just way too much work. And I'm like, honey, we're going to have another garage sale. And he goes, you mean I can't have my garage back is what you're telling me? So that was the weekend before Father's Day. So we skipped Father's Day and then had the garage sale again the following weekend. So the 2 weekends together, we ended up with about $2,500 from the garage sales because there was just so much stuff. And my trailer is still about half full right now because my husband hasn't got to take it to go bring to give away yet. So it's amazing to see God work all the way around. And as soon as I told them, we're going to focus more on quality of the boxes, we had the best garage sale we've had in 6 years. It was almost like God said, yes, quality. So that was very important to me. So part of that is being good stewards of the money.
Probably about maybe in 2013, I became aware of packing gifts for kids, kind of like Crystal. I had a friend who asked me, hey, do you want to pack some gifts for kids? I'm like, yeah, sure. I had been the Awana commander for 17 years at our church, and a lot of the older men and women in our church had worked with me in Awana. And so when they would ask me if I wanted to participate in things, I did, just because they were just such wonderful volunteers in our Wednesday night children's ministry. So that was the deal. Patty asked me, do you want to pack them? I was like, yeah, I did. A couple of years my group packed with them, but I had no clue other than I was packing gifts for kids. I like gifts. I like kids, so let's pack some gifts for them. And those women took our shoe boxes that we packed to the drop-off location. And then one year they came to me and she said, Tanya, I am too old to drive the van anymore. Can you help us get them there? And I was like, yeah, sure, I can do that. So we checked the drop-off location hours, found a time that I could go because I work full-time, and I took them and I went to a place called Bloom Electric. And I didn't really know one thing about it other than that's where I went, and then I met Michelle Schlew. And she talked to me about Bloom Electric, and really neat place and what they did there. And so I want Michelle just to kind of share how she got started and kind of what Bloom Electric, kind of what it looked like many years ago before it looks like it does today.
Okay. Yeah. I was just asked to speak just yesterday, so I have notes. I'm sorry. This is coming from my heart, though, even though I have notes.
Is that okay? If we put it here, maybe you can.
There we go. That's great. Okay, well, yeah. So, as Tanya was saying, she met me down at Bloom Electric, right? Is that where we met, or it was, well, okay, I'll tell you about Bloom Electric. I first found out about Operation Christmas Child in 1999 because I got this little postcard that came to my house. And I looked at it and said, what's this all about? Well, let's see, they want me to pack a shoebox with toys and school supplies and things. I can do that. I love little things, and I love children, and I love the Lord. All three of those go together, as everyone has said. So I did that. I packed a shoebox. I was still working at the time, but I found out where to take it, and I was to go to Bloom Electric. So I went on my lunch hour from work, and I ended up down in Norman. That was not where Bloom Electric was. So I had to call in and tell them, I'll probably be late to work because I have got to find this place called Bloom Electric. That was before GPS and your phone tells you where to go. So I was looking down there, and I just kept following this road that I knew led me back up to Edmond. But anyway, I finally found Bloom Electric. And what they were is, like they sound, it was an electric company. I mean, Chuck, help me out with this. Fixed electric engines and all kinds of things. People brought their things to him, like tractors and stuff like that. And what else, Chuck, what else did he do? Yeah, he did electrical installations. But the thing is, he had one back room that had a couple of really long tables, and he just left them there all the time for us. For people were already packing shoe boxes there. When I took my one box in and I went to the back room, I went, I got to help with this. And so I started working right then, and I worked the rest of 99, which was only a few months because this was probably October. And then that very next year, I started working almost full-time down there with them. Even though I was working, I would go in the evenings, and I would go on weekends and holidays. And they just had things all laid out. And they got donations from everywhere. I'm not sure how they got so many donations, but they had a lot of influence, and they knew a lot of people who needed electrical things worked on. And so they got T-shirts and hats and toys and all kinds of stuff. So it was just, the stuff was scattered all over. They had a couple of closets, along the wall like that, and it was all filled with Operation Christmas Child stuff. So eventually, Dawn and Betty both passed away, and I met Leanne Surrey, who is Betty's sister, and she and I worked for a long time before we finally said, where do you live? Oh, I live in Edmond. Well, so did Leanne. Well, what street do you live on? Well, she lives about 1.5 miles from me. So we started going down together finally, and then after Dawn and Betty both passed away, their son, David Bloom, decided he really wanted that great big room for a conference room and all that stuff. So he started closing down that area. And then also, Operation Christmas Child decided they wanted to have these collection centers in a church, not at a company. So David gave me all the rest of the things that they had, and I started slowly, actually, at my church. I started with my Sunday school, and I said, look, we're going to have a little party, and we're just going to sort out crayons and put soap and washcloths in bags and stuff, and then I'll take it down to Bloom. I'm backtracking a little bit. So I did that for a couple of years, just taking stuff from my church and bringing it down to Bloom. And I thought, wait a minute, our church can pack some boxes. So about 2005, we started actually packing boxes at my church. And then we would just leave them on the back wall of the church. And during collection week, we'd bring them all down to the Bloom still. But then in about 2005 or 6, I couldn't do it anymore. They weren't going to do it. So we were left with being the collection center. And one of the things, my Sunday school class is called the Challengers. So I decided I was going to go to each of the other adult Sunday school classes and say, okay, y'all, I'm from the Challengers. I challenge your class to bring in candy. I challenge your class to bring in hygiene items. I challenge your class to bring in blah, blah, blah. And so each class decided they wanted to do that, and they started challenging each other. Well, we have 200 T-shirts. How many candy do you have? Things like that. It was really, really fun. And then I thought, wait a minute, I'm leaving somebody out. So I challenged the choir to bring in musical instruments. And they thought that was terrific. So they brought in harmonicas and that little whoot, that thing, and all kinds of small little tambourines. They were so brilliant to think, oh, well, this will fit in a shoebox. And so the whole choir brought in musical instruments that year. And she really wanted me to tell you about blooms, but now that we're past blooms, they had to close. I just wanted to tell you a couple of tricks that we've learned over the years. Challenging each of the classes was one thing, but we have one fellow that helps me out. His name is David Larison, and he every single time we have a packing party, which we have 3 or 4 a year. We used to have more than that, but then we found out the items weren't coming in as fast as that. And each packing party, we packed about 100 shoeboxes. So our church actually pays for a space at Extra Space Place. It's climate controlled, and it's all good. So we bring our shoeboxes over there, already cartoned, by the way, and we just leave them in there until November. But as we have a packing party, everyone signs in. And on the right side, I ask if they'll put down their email address if we don't have it. So then David takes that and he adds those email addresses. So he has a long list of anyone that's even slightly interested in OCC. So anyway, that's one thing. That's one way you can get more people. Because a lot of these people are not from my church. A lot of them come from Henderson Hills because Leanne Surrey goes to Henderson Hills, and she's my best friend. So we have to get something going there. And then her friends know other people from different churches. And we have had a lot of publicity in the paper. We've been very lucky. We know Carla Hinton and someone from the Edmond paper. So we just tell them, hey, we're having a party in July or whatever, and they come and tell everybody about it. That way we've gotten a lot of people from outside the church that wouldn't even hear about it. So, yeah. Anyway, and right now, if you have a church paper, here's an idea too. Right now, kids are going back to school. That means they need school shoes. So if you put it in the church paper, please don't throw those shoe boxes out from the school shoes. Bring them to us, bring them to the church, and if you can, please wrap them. That would help us a lot. We used to have, she used to be, I don't know, she was in her late 80s though, and she she wrapped thousands of shoe boxes. Her name was Denny. That was her last name, but she wanted to be called Denny. So she wrapped so many shoe boxes, and her hands were already gnarled, and that's what she wanted to do. She said, it's good for me. It's good for my hands, and I'm serving. So she's not able to do that anymore, so we need some more wrappers. But that's another thing. Get somebody that likes to. If you have a Girl Scout troop or American Heritage Girls or a Girl Scout troop, yes? All right, yeah. Have a wrapping party. We actually had, one time we had a wrapping party. It wasn't packing, but we said, okay, everybody, come and help wrap. And they did. It was fun. So, and this is, like I say, this is just such a team effort. You all know that. And, my husband helps out all the time. He's just right there behind me, thank goodness. And of course, we always pray sometime during the packing party. We stop and pray for the volunteers, for the boxes, for the children who are going to receive the boxes. And God knows who's going to receive each and every box. And like Amy said, I want to see something really nice in all those boxes. I don't want to just... Because that happened to us a couple times too. I turned around and I realized that there were 2 tables completely empty, but kids especially were still just piling more toys or more suckers or something in the box, and they didn't have a toothbrush, flashlight or something. So I stopped it then. So that's one thing, you want to keep an eye on your packing party, because it's hard. I know when you have we have about 10 tables of different things. And we also always have one table that's just for sit-down jobs. We have a lot of people that come from Henderson Hills they come in on walkers or they're just barely making it there. They go straight to the sit-down table. And they unwrap the big things of soap, and then they put each one in a washcloth, and there's all kinds of sit-down jobs. So we have that. Let's see. Okay, I talked about sending messages to people and while you're sending out a message to all the people that are on your list already, at that point tell them we're completely out of washcloths or we're completely out of crayons or something. But let them know too, we have so many toothbrushes. Whoops. We have so many toothbrushes, we don't need that. Because people want to know. They don't want to say, they don't want to know, just bring something. Well, what on earth do they need, So tell them exactly, because we've gotten a lot of things that way too. And I have to tell you one story. We were having a packing, right in the middle of a packing, and my husband has we have a motorhome, and so he parks it in extra space storage. And one day, I noticed one of the tables, we didn't have any toothbrushes left. This is a two-part story. And so someone all of a sudden came walking in and he said, I have a bag here for you and it's full of toothbrushes. Can you use them? Thank you. And then shortly after that, Chuck walks in and he said, I just stopped at the office at Extra Space Storage. He said, I talked to the manager and they're going to give you a storage place for free for the first year. So for a whole year we had it for free. And now we pay for it by the year, which means we get one extra month. So now we don't have to pay until the end of March. We're that many years ahead. So I think that's about it. But if you haven't seen it already, I brought in a scrapbook, and it's on the left-hand table as you go out there if you'd like to see some of the things that we've done. And some people in here are in it. So thank you.
Good. We'll keep our little clock here so we can kind of stay on time. Okay, we're kind of officially going into our sessions time. This needs to be very interactive, okay? We will share some things, but we definitely, if something we say makes you think of something, just speak out. I'll bring you the mic. It can go anywhere, right? We're supposed to keep it 3 inches from our mouth. I talk with my hands, so, it's hard. I should tape my arm to my side. And I need glasses, so thankfully I have them with me. Janice, I think you're part of this, wherever you're at. Yes, it's about motivation for you and your church. One of the things that I think we struggle with a little bit is when we are trying to motivate people to pack shoeboxes, we immediately start with the how. How to pack a shoebox. You get a shoebox. It needs to be about this size and blah, blah, blah. And this is what you put in it. And this is what you don't put in it and blah, blah, blah. Those kind of projects don't last real long with me because I am at that point that if it doesn't have to do with the gospel, sharing the gospel, I don't really want to waste my time doing it. That's just kind of where I'm at. The why part will keep it sparkly and shiny and new if we continue to share the why we do it. The how we do it gets very dull and boring quickly. But let's remember just to keep everyone engaged by the whys. Keep telling them how many people are saved because of the gospel opportunities that are going across the ocean. How many family members, how many people in their communities. Crystal was sharing about church plants, and I believe that one specifically was in Togo. Because of God using Operation Christmas Child shoeboxes, 14,000 churches have been planted. I mean, if you really kind of do the math on that, and you figure out in the very beginning, there were not that many shoeboxes sent out. When you start thinking, well, really, the past several years we've done millions of shoeboxes, I'm sure that it's just going to continue to grow the church plants. How many, and I attend a Southern Baptist church. I am a believer in Jesus Christ who attends a Southern Baptist church. I don't claim to be that. And I think it's just amazing that denominations and non-denomination churches have joined in this project of Samaritan's Purse. It is the largest project of Samaritan's Purse. And if you guys go on the website, you can read about all the others, but this is the largest one. And we just have to realize that it is an amazing opportunity that God has allowed us to join him in doing this. So just remember, part of the motivational thing is the why we're doing it, because people are being saved. Okay? Janice?
Fantastic. I think one of the things, whenever we're talking about motivation for your church, over and over, whenever, I don't know if any of you know, on my phone, I've got link after link after link. Official Operation Christmas Child Project leaders. There's actually a site that you can go through, and they tell you all the things that they're going through with their church and the things that they do to motivate the people in their church to participate in Operation Christmas Child shoeboxes. And Tanya and I were visiting too. How do you get the other people in your church motivated to want to pack a shoebox? Certainly, it is the why I'm doing it. But another detail is be very specific in what you ask people to bring. I need 42 boxes of crayons. I'm out of crayons. Can you bring those crayons next Sunday? Well, let's see. There's other things too that you can do. Ask a person, ask a